For years, I've been told to stop doing this exercise. It does nothing for athletes. But what is this disgrace of a movement? Of course, it's the bench press. I'm gonna show you why the bench press is not the worst exercise and how it might even unlock your athletic potential, and we're gonna start right now. A movement may not be as effective if it's a single joint exercise. Think about a preacher curl or a leg extension. Those movements are relatively easy for your body to adapt to. That doesn't mean that they're bad exercises. I love big biceps. I love swollen quads. But for global recruitment and for improving sports performance, they may not be the best. This doesn't mean it's bad, but it does mean that because it's done over a single joint, it's a little bit easier for your body to execute. For athletes who want to improve their overall sports performance, they need to make their body a little bit more intelligent. They need to use exercises that are going to challenge their rate of coordination. That's going to challenge their overall coordination between muscles, the way their nervous system is going to communicate. And this in turn will then lead to a greater recruitment of high threshold motor units. And when we're talking about something like the bench press, world-class sprinters, yes, even Ben Johnson and his legendary coach, Charlie Francis, insert all comments down below that Ben Johnson was on steroids, would even use the bench press to improve his overall global recruitment. And that's because athletes need exercises that are more multi-joint movements that can carry a little bit greater load, and in turn, in most cases, even more variations. If we look at exercises like the back squat and the snatch, these are movements that are going to transfer really, really well to the world of sports performance. And from an athlete's mindset during training, they have to produce more force when they're doing these more complex exercises. If they're generating more force in a shorter period of time, this in turn leads to greater impulse expression. But how does impulse lead to better performance in the sports performance world? We know that hip extension, knee extension, plantar flexion, all of these things are necessary for high levels of acceleration. Think about horizontal locomotion. If we understand that, we know that there's going to be a massive amount of that hip extension to help us drive a little bit further. Same with that knee extension, same with that stiff plantar flexion. Does the bench press do this? No, of course it doesn't. So what does the bench press actually do for you? For starters, a lot of people will say that there still is some lower body action involved. But let's just throw that out the window. It's really, truly an all upper body movement. Some people will say that the pull-up is the best upper body exercise. That makes the pull-up the back squat of the upper body, which makes the bench press the front squat. The bench press allows you as an athlete to do a lot of different movement patterns. You can load the bench press with heavy loads if you want to max out. You can use different grips when you bench press. You can do a close grip bench. We can even use something like garage grips if we want to increase the size of the bar. You can use different ranges of motion. You can use something like a Duffalo bar. You can go on the decline, which will decrease the range of motion, or you could go on the incline bench, which will increase that range of motion. You can use different speeds or rep modulations. So you can do a slow eccentric, you can do a pause, you can do a double bounce right off the chest. These are other unique methods that you can use to change the adaptation to the actual bench press. You can even bench very rapidly if you're using like a pad bench, okay? So that's gonna lead to a faster eccentric portion, which will then lead to your global recruitment lighting up like crazy, and then you'll drive rapidly through the concentric. And then finally, you can even do partial range of motion. You can do a block bench, you can do a floor press, anything along these lines. These are all exercises that we have available specifically to you inside of our strength training app, Peak Strength, with over 700 other different movement patterns. But what does all of this do for you as an athlete? As an athlete, it leads to a lot of benefits. The bench press develops rapid elbow extension. So think if we're in a combat sport and we're punching someone, there will be rapid elbow extension. If we're a running back and we're running and we throw a nasty stiff arm, there will be rapid elbow extension. And then we can look in the water. Look at a sport like swimming. The bench press actually has carryover to the breaststroke. On top of that rapid elbow extension, I think if you can periodize things properly, like we do inside of our strength training at Peak Strength, you will actually have a protective mechanism around the shoulder girdle if things are done accordingly in conjunction with your sport. But I can hear you guys already down in the comments. You don't lay on your back in any sport. This can't have any transfer. Wrong. The bench press falls in line with what is known as dynamic correspondence. And over 56% of 14,000 people who voted on our recent YouTube poll actually believe the bench press is the most overrated exercise, and that brings tears to my eyes.
Hello, darkness, my old friend. I've come to talk with you again.
Now, let's get into dynamic correspondence. Oftentimes, people misunderstand or misinterpret what dynamic correspondence is, and they actually haven't read what it is in this specific book from Mel Siff on super training, Verkhoshansky. Now, what we can do is flip to page 354, and we can see that the amplitude and direction of movement must fall in line. The accentuated region of force production should be falling in line with that dynamic correspondence. The dynamics of the effort, including maximum force. Think about maximum force on the bench press, also at high speeds if we have pad bench. The rate and time of maximum force production. That's also gonna have some type of correspondence. The regime of muscular work will also have correspondence. One thing that we think about when people say if you're laying on your back, that's a bad thing. That's not gonna have that sport specificity. However, our brain knows where we are in space, and in turn, it knows how to apply force in different planes. So if we're training the right regime of muscular work, there indeed will be some sense of dynamic correspondence. So with the bench press, we're gonna see the speed of recruitment, the joints that we're gonna be using, and the joint angles and how that will in turn transfer to the realm of sports performance. When we're doing a bench press, we're still applying force in the same plane that we would be if we were throwing a shot put, if we were pummeling as a wrestler, if we were doing something like the breaststroke. All of these things will end up transferring over. That's going to be the correspondence that we get from the bench press. So is the bench press the worst exercise that you can do, like the internet coaching gurus say? Hell no, the bench press is one of the best. You even need to check out one of our other videos that we recently released where we talk about being potentially one of the top 3 exercises of all time. If you guys are looking for more exercises that can have some other sense of dynamic correspondence, make sure you head over to peakstrength.app, the Google Play Store or the Apple iOS Store. You can download Peak Strength. You'll get 5, and that's where you're gonna start to develop that rapid elbow extension, that ability to apply a massive amount of force from your upper body. Because remember, freaks, if you wanna become a champion, you've always gotta cultivate your power. Peace.